Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trades Talk. I am your host, Pop Culture Mechanic. You can call me Pop for short. And today, we're going to go through and see what is happening out in industry. So for that, we'll turn on the browser, and we'll have a look and what is for the news of January the 2nd. So it's not really that up to date, but we'll see what we can find here. It says here, FedDev Ontario invests in Eve's Landry Foundation. Subaru Canada's new leader. What's that all about? Subaru's a car maker, automotive, but what are they a leader? Why are they in Canada's new leader? It says here, Subaru Canada named Tomohiro Kubota as its new chairman, president, and CEO, taking over for Yasushi Inami. I would like to express my gratitude towards Yasushi Inami for operating as one team with our strong dealer network, said Kubota. Subaru Canada remains uncommon in its approach to navigating challenging roads in this current industry-wide automotive landscape. I'm excited to build on this strong foundation. Kubota has been with Subaru Corporation since 1994, most recently as GM Overseas Business Planning Department, Overseas Sales and Marketing Division. Before that, he held positions in retail sales at the dealership level, managerial roles in sales and marketing of various overseas markets, president at Subaru Deutschland GmbH. That's it? That's not much of an article. Plant Magazine. Okay, Subaru Canada's new leader. Yeah, all right. Just letting us know it's that guy. Here's something that's a little more interesting, maybe. Chinese manufacturing weakens amid COVID-19 outbreak. Beijing. Chinese manufacturing contracted for a third consecutive month in December, in the biggest drop since early 2020 as the country battles a nationwide COOF surge after suddenly easing anti-epidemic measures. A monthly purchasing managers index declined to 47 from 48 in November, according to data released from the National Bureau of Statistics on Saturday. Numbers below 50 indicate a trend contraction in activity. Hello, Godzillionaire. Yes, it is not Tuesday. But I got to get my trades talk in sometime. I was busy on Tuesday, with other things, so I got to make up for it today. But it's good to see you nonetheless. Thanks for stopping in. We're just talking about the Chinese manufacturing weakens amid the COOF outbreak. It says the contraction was the biggest since February 2020 when the COOF pandemic had just started. The weakening comes as China earlier this month abruptly relaxed its restrictions after years of attempts to stamp out the virus. The country of 1.4 billion is now facing a nationwide outbreak, and authorities have stopped publishing a daily tally of infections. Several other sub-indexes, including for large enterprises, production and demand in the manufacturing market, also dropped compared to November. Some surveyed companies reported that due to the impact of the epidemic, the logistics and transportation manpower was insufficient, and delivery time has been extended, said Zhao Qinghe, a senior economist at the Statistics Bureau, in a published analysis of the December data. According to data from the Bureau, sectors including construction saw expansion in December, together with sub-indexes that measure industries such as air transport, telecommunications, and monetary and financial services. The Purchasing Managers Index for China's non-manufacturing sector also fell to 41.6 in December, down from 46.7 in November. China is likely to miss its goal of 5.5% economic growth this year, with forecasters cutting their outlook to as low as 3% in annual growth, which would be the second weakest since at least the 1980s. Oh well. I think we should have more manufacturing over here instead of over in China. That way we wouldn't have to worry about things like that. But who am I Restaurants debut new takeout ware amid phase in of single-use plastics ban. Oh, right. So yes, plastics are being banned in some places, I think. Domestic manufacturing? Blasphemy! Yes. It is unheard of. The hell you say. Says here, customers may notice takeout containers, straws, and other items being swapped for greener alternatives in the new year as Canada's food service industry adjusts to the phase-in of a federal law that aims to eventually remove many single-use plastics from the market altogether. Some restaurants have already gone through months of trial and error in an effort to find the best alternatives to single-use plastic items. We try to stay ahead of the game, said Paul Bognar, President and Chief Operating Officer of Service Inspired Restaurants, which operates numerous restaurants, including Jack Astor's and Scatabush. I have never heard of Scatabush. I wonder if that's like a back east thing. Or Jack Astor's. That Astor sounds like the like Mary Astor and all that, the socialite. Paper straws should be considered a crime against humanity. I've used those, and yeah, they get too soggy and you can't use them anymore, so you end up grabbing a second one to use. So tell me, what's better? You have one that you use the whole time and you just use the one, or do you have to use up a bunch of them? How does that make that any better? You're doubling or tripling your use. Though single-use plastics aren't fully banned yet, he said, the company's restaurants are ready to transition away from plastics early in the new year after months of testing. After a year-long delay, the first phase of the federal law began on December 20th. The initial phase prohibits the manufacturing and import for sale of a range of single-use plastics, including checkout bags like the ones used in grocery stores, cutlery such as forks, knives, chopsticks, takeout containers made partially or fully from plastic, including styrofoam, carbon black, and oxo-degradable plastics, stir sticks, and drinking straws. Except to accommodate people who need them, plastic rain carriers will be banned for manufacture and import for sale in June 2023. Same ones against plastic straws and plastic cups were all about the crappy mess that ended up littered everywhere. Yeah, once again, the hypocrisy is just unreal. These people that are like, oh yeah, oh, masks this, masks that, and then there's garbage everywhere, all over the ground, used masks everywhere. Like you hypocrites, you can't even clean up after yourselves. You just gotta throw everything everywhere. Where are we here? December 2023 will see a ban on the sale of all these products, except for ring carriers, right, which will be banned in June 2024. And in December 2025, a ban on the manufacture, import, and export for sale of all these products will come into effect. That means single-use plastics won't be completely gone from restaurants, cafes, and bars just yet, as many will still be using up their stock. But many companies have already started the transition, so they are prepared once they can no longer buy these products. As they should be. Try to get ahead of it. Don't fall behind. For example, Tim Hortons recently announced it's rolling out new recyclable fiber hot drink lids, compostable cutlery, and breakfast and lunch wrappers in 2023. McDonald's started removing some single-use plastics from its restaurants in late 2021, including straws, cutlery, and stir sticks. Anyone that's as old as I am can remember when McDonald's was all about the styrofoam containers and how those always took up a lot of the garbage space around them. I can remember having Big Macs and all those other things wrapped up in styrofoam containers. The McDLT is a prime example too. Bogner said service-inspired restaurants recently transitioned to bamboo takeout cutlery and has started asking people whether they want cutlery at all. But one of the biggest challenges has been finding new takeout containers. Yeah, you remember the styrofoam at McDonald's? Of course. I mean, you know, us old fellas, we remember that stuff. Bogner said they were using recyclable plastic ones, but found that they couldn't be recycled in all jurisdictions. So the company tried all their other options, eventually settling on a waxed cardboard takeout box that is both recyclable and biodegradable. Employees and some customers test out different containers, covering the delivery charge in exchange for feedback. But not all restaurateurs are ready to make the transition ahead of schedule. Many businesses still have large stockpiles of plastic containers to use up, and may even have extra after the COOF lockdowns. Buying new containers was the last thing Oyster Boy owner Adam Colquhoun had on his mind heading into the new year, as he was dealing with the holiday rush at his Toronto restaurant. Like many restaurants, he said, he has a basement full of containers he needs to use up before thinking about what he might permanently replace them with. Though he said his co-owner did source some compostable containers during the pandemic. I'm just ignoring it for now, and I'll look at it sometime in late January when I have time, Colquhoun said. Colquhoun is among those who feel as though the single-use plastics ban is a small thing, a band-aid solution of sorts amid the larger forces causing climate change, and he said he feels like his small businesses are often the ones paying the price. There's a lot of enthusiasms for greener options in the food service industry pre-pandemic, said Kelly Higginson, Chief Operating Officer of Industry Group Restaurants Canada, but more recently it's become another pressure on business. Restaurateurs can choose from a wide variety of new options made from materials including bamboo, oats, corn, rice, and paper, said Higginson. The switch could increase the cost of some items by up to 125%, she said, adding there's also concerns about supply chains and the quality of the products. We want something that is high quality, that is sustainable, that isn't costing too much, and right now there are some of those items on the market. It's just a matter of how much and getting your hands on it. While the new items are generally more expensive, Bogner is optimistic that they can become more common and the prices will drop. Even the supply chain problems are starting to ease, he added. However, he acknowledged it's easier for large restaurant groups like service-inspired restaurants to source and test new products, while independent restaurants are at a disadvantage. International companies have a head start on the transition, said Higginson, as some countries and jurisdictions have already made a similar switch. In the coming months and years, Higginson is hoping for more consistency between the levels of government, while the law is federal. There are often different rules on a local level about what is accepted and recyclable, for example. She also wants to see more education from the government on how consumers should dispose of these items properly. That's been a frustration of our members, she said. They're being forced to buy these higher cost items and struggle with some supply chain issues. But then, the consumer isn't recycling them properly or isn't composting them properly. Yep. But if that's what you're going to do, get rid of single-use plastics. Oh, here's something. I haven't heard of this. Keystone Pipeline reopening plan approved. In-service date not yet announced. This is a good idea. Okay, well, let's see what they have to say. I'm hoping this is good news. From Calgary, TC Energy Corp has received regulatory approval to restart the remaining segment of the Keystone Pipeline that has been shut down since suffering its worst oil spill in the pipeline's history on December 7th. Calgary-based company said Friday the U.S. Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration has approved a restart plan for the 154-kilometer stretch of pipeline that runs from just south of Steel City, Nebraska to Cushing, Oklahoma. The company said its restart plan will take several days and will include rigorous testing and inspections. It did not provide a date for when the entire pipeline system will be fully operational again. Immediately following the spill, which saw 14,000 barrels of oil released into a creek in Washington County, Kansas, TC Energy shut down the Keystone Pipeline system, which stretches 4,324 kilometers and helps transport Canadian and U.S. crude to markets around North America. TC Energy restarted most of the pipeline at a reduced pressure on December 14th, although the section that runs from just south of Steel City, Nebraska to Cushing, Oklahoma remained shut down. TC Energy and U.S. regulators are still investigating the cause of the spill, which eclipsed a 2017 6,600 barrel spill in North Dakota and a 2019 4,500 barrel spill in South Dakota as the worst oil spills in the Keystone Pipeline's history. The 2017 spill in particular was a blow to the Canadian oil industry. For the 10 days the pipeline was shut down, a lack of transportation capacity both to the U.S. storage hub in Cushing, Oklahoma, and to refiners along the U.S. Gulf Coast caused a backlog of Canadian crude and forced producers to sell barrels at an increased discount. That price depreciation didn't happen this time, however, in part because Canada now has more pipeline capacity than it did. The addition of Enbridge's Line 3 replacement project came online in 2021, and Canada will have even more pipeline capacity next year after the Trans Mountain expansion project comes online. But Rory Johnson, a Toronto-based oil markets analyst and founder of the Commodity Context newsletter, said even with that additional capacity, any future pipeline outages that last for more than a few weeks could still cause significant problems. The Keystone outage reminds us of our vulnerability, Johnson said in a December 21st interview. All of our pipelines in Canada are pretty large pipelines. We don't actually have that many pipelines, so if anything goes wrong with any one of those assets, we don't actually have a lot of resiliency in the system. And I think that's what Keystone has showed us. Pipelines are widely considered by experts to be a safer mode of crude transport than either rail or truck. Still, the risk of a spill has long been a factor cited by environmentalists and others who have opposed North American pipelines construction projects in recent years. For example, fears about potential pipeline leaks, as well as concerns about climate change, helped stoke opposition to TC Energy's proposed Keystone XL extension. The project would have cut across Montana, South Dakota, and Nebraska, but ultimately had its permit canceled by the U.S. President Joe Biden in 2021. U.S. government data shows that the Keystone Pipeline's safety record has been deteriorating in recent years. A report released last year from the U.S. Government Accountability Office, a congressional watchdog agency, said Keystone's accident history has been similar to other crude oil pipelines since 2010. But the severity of spills has worsened in recent years. The GOA report identified construction issues leading to the material failure of pipe or welding material as a leading factor in past Keystone accidents. It is said the 2017 Keystone leak was caused by issues in the construction, installation, or fabrication of the pipeline, while the 2019 North Dakota accident was caused by defects in the original pipe manufacturing. So they have like bill of materials and materials testing records for each piece of pipe. They should anyway. Working in a chemical plant, as I do, we have to have all of our material testing reports for each piece of pipe, each fitting, each bolt. Everything needs to have a material test record to show that it's good, that it has tested as good. So these guys should have the same thing. But hopefully they can get that pipeline flowing again. It'd be nice to have somewhere for our oil to go. First 2 years revealed President Biden's generational ambition. I think that guy has a hard enough time just like walking and chewing gum. I don't know whether he'd have any kind of ambition or anything other than that he doesn't, mess his depends. Micron announces layoffs, cost cutting as chip demand drops. Really? We've been told that there's a lot of demand for chips. So what's going on that there wouldn't be, what would be less in the chip demand? Micron will reduce its workforce by 10% next year and take other cost-cutting measures as the computer memory chip maker struggles to deal with too much supply amid a drop in demand. Micron CEO Sanjay Mehrotra announced the restructuring during a quarterly conference call with investors Wednesday, noting that prices for computer memory products had deteriorated significantly in recent months. Boise television station KTVB reported the company will cut staff by about 10% through 2023 through voluntary departures and layoffs. According to a filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, employee bonuses will also be suspended next year, and executive salaries will be reduced for the remainder of the 2023 fiscal year, which runs through August, the company said. The Boise, Idaho-based company has about 48,000 employees across 38 sites in North America, Europe, and Asia, including more than 5,000 people in Boise. It has not announced where the layoffs will occur. Obviously, it's going to be where they cost the most. In September, Micron announced it will be investing $15 billion through the end of the decade on a new semiconductor plant in Boise, expected to create 17,000 American jobs. The following month, the company announced another semiconductor plant would be built in upstate New York, promising a long-term investment of up to $100 billion on a plant that could bring 50,000 jobs to the state. The restructure is not expected to affect those plans. At the time, Mehrotra said the investments were made possible by the Federal Chips and Science Act of 2022, a $280 billion bill aimed at bolstering U.S. competitiveness against China. The law sets aside $52 billion to bolster the semiconductor industry, which has struggled to manufacture the memory chips powering smartphones, cars, and computers because of COOF-related supply chain issues. But in recent months, the company has seen a dramatic drop in demand. Unit volumes for personal computers and smartphones have declined in 2022. Mehrotra noted the company primarily makes two kinds of chips: NAND, which saves data when power is removed, such as in a portable flash drive, and DRAM, which must be powered on to hold data. The industry is experiencing the most severe imbalance between supply and demand in both DRAM and NAND in the last 13 years, he said. Micron is exercising supply discipline by making significant cuts to our capital expenditures and wafer starts while maintaining our competitive position. The restructure plan was part of Micron's announcement of financial results for the first quarter of the company's fiscal year, which ended December 1st. Revenue came in at just under $4.1 billion for the quarter, down from more than $6.6 billion the previous quarter. Still, Mehrotra said demand is expected to increase next year by about 10% for DRAM and about 20% for NAND. Yeah, I thought that they needed all those chips for vehicles and everything like that. So this guy is saying that he has to lay off people because the demand has dropped. So does that mean we've caught up now? Have we caught up to making our cars with and getting everything with your smartphone and having all those parts? Here's a good one. Should Canada produce more medicine amid ongoing shortages? Trudeau isn't sure. What's not to be sure about? Like, is there shortages? Yes. Maybe you should make more. Why is this numbskull not sure? Like, my God, the complete and utter ignorance and idiocy that spouts from this guy's mouth is just gets me like a whole new level of rage. You know? Of course, I got to be careful because they'll probably send people to come and get me. You know, can't say bad things, not nice things, make people cry. Anyway, that's it for the news. Let's move along now. I think we'll skip right to... We will close or stop that. Stop that. There we go. Take this. Move this guy over here. Move this guy right here. All right. So some of the things I've worked on over the years. I managed to work in a anaerobic digester. And this is a pretty neat thing where it breaks down the compost and captures the gases. And when you capture those gases, you get to burn them in a generation unit. So, as I'll just make that big. There we go. As I'm going through the pictures here, this is just a pump setup for a lube skid. So it will provide oil to the generation units, the engines that run. And these things are, I believe they're V16s. Yeah, V16s, yeah. A very, or an inline. I think, no, they're inline 16. So you have a 16-cylinder engine running a generator to make power. And I think they could do 746 kilowatts or something like that. Lots of power. And we had 2 of them. But you gotta have a constant supply of oil for those engines and a way to, you can actually change it on the fly, because you can't shut down a generator and leave the town without power. You have to be able to change it on the fly, and this is the way you did it. You pulled the out of this silver tank here. It's covered with insulation, insulated silver tank. You could use one pump to pump it over to the storage tank for the engine, and then the other tank, or the other pump here, you would load up the storage tank here by pulling them out of a drum. So that was a pretty neat setup. And just part number I think we needed for. This is the HMI, or human machine interface, for a shredder. So it tells you how much amperage it's drawing as it's working. I think right now it's running, but there's nothing in it, so it's only drawing about 75 amps. But you can see it goes up to 500 if it gets really bogged down with a big piece of debris or something like that. Right now I'm standing underneath the what's called a rotating screen. A borger, I believe this is it says it's a multi-chopper, so it's like a grinder for material that goes through. So it's like a slurry that goes through, but this thing has like teeth that just chop it up. And I always had to get lots of information, make sure to catalog everything, and you always want to get your model, make and model number, so that you will always have that information with you. Also, with the anaerobic digester, a lot of the air had to be purified or had to have the odor removed from it, and they would use what's called an acid scrubber. And these acid scrubbers are quite huge, and the air would get passed through, and there would be a bunch of, like, an acid spray that would mist through the air, and it would help remove the foul-smelling air. This is part of it. This is a strainer for a pump that goes with the scrubber system. As you can see, the system wasn't that clean. We would get all sorts of stuff sucked out of where they had the compost degrading and decomposing, and it would pull all this grass and leaves and such, and it would get stuck. And yeah, it would plug up, and the pump would get starved. So we'd have to pull the pump out, pull the strainer off, clean it. As you can see, it looks a little cleaner now. Those are just showing how the effects of the rainwater washing away the soil. How they thought they were doing a good job by just putting one block here, but they should have put 2. But nobody listens to the maintenance guy. Once again, taking more pictures of the valves and such, so because you need those serial numbers on hand. If you're ever going to order parts or know what you have, what size, you always have to get, it's always important to have all your information. Make, model, serial number. Whenever you're asking for parts, they always want to know that. What's your make? What's your model? What's your serial number? And that was just one of the valves. We're still in the anaerobic digester. It's just this area here is where they would pump some of the slurry through. Yeah, okay. They call it percolate. And this is one of our spring actuated valves. I think it was air actuated spring return. Just taking pictures of it, showing that it does leak a little bit, and so you might have to tighten up the packing around there just to keep it from leaking all over. There's that bottom of the strainer. As you can see, lots of material gets stuck in there. That was some nice viboprene on the work on the nitrile. Yeah. Thank Godzillionaire. Yeah, look how it would just get caught in those the orifices there for the strainer. There we go. That's nice and clean. I believe we took the an air wand to it and just cleaned it all off. Much better. Put it back in and wait for it to get clogged up again. Also, as was going at things that were happening, they wanted us to put these I-beams up to help support some cable tray. So I got to operate our crane, and we lifted those in place and we welded them in place. And you can see it had to go in this brace here. So here's the brace on the wall already. But we had to lift up these I-beams, which were about 20 feet long, and put them in, like swing them in there. As you can see, there's cable tray there. So we had to be pretty cagey about getting around it without damaging it. And then put another brace to support it there, which is what my welder did. And then, yes, and then along here, then we would put the next one in, and it would go underneath this brace here, and we would connect it up here. And then the welder would get up there with an aerial platform and weld away. And yeah, we would just bring them in one by one, set them on the ground, lift them up, put them in place. And that's how he secured them together. We use that plate and some Bessie clamps to make sure that they are nice and lined up. And then he would weld the seam between them, sort of they were butted together. And he would weld both sides, the top, the bottom, and it would be very strong. Yeah, that might be a better shot. And we made it all the way. I believe that's the end right there where we stopped, and we put up another piece there to support it. There's another shot of how long it had to be. We had to go along the whole wall. So this was quite the operation to do. I don't think anybody really figured out how much how difficult it had to be at times to get those beams in there. It was not easy, but we managed to do it. And welding for repairs, like working around wires, sounds like a pain. You got her, Blaine. Thanks for stopping by. I'm just, yeah. Like, look at this. Look at this thing. So you got cable tray above. We had to slide them in the existing braces that are coming off of the columns there. So you have to slide them in and then slide them back. And yeah, This thing was a godsend. This crane here, I would have one of these on every job site. It's an 8.5 ton crane. You don't need a ticket to operate it, like a full crane operator's ticket. You just have to go for some training and get your hours in, and then you're good to go. So you took a weekend quick intro to welding to stick to MIG, manly hot glue, but you'd learn more stick. Stick is okay. You get more penetration with stick, and you can. It's usually used more out in the field anyway. MIG is nice. MIGs like to fill gaps, and you can do sort of. You get a smaller wire and all that. You can do thinner material. You shouldn't burn through it as easy. But yeah, I get what you're saying. TIG is where it's at, though. If you can do TIG welding, like with the tungsten and the filler material, apparently I've heard there's guys that are really good. They can do 2 pop cans butted end to end. And if that's how they show off their welding prowess, by putting 2 aluminum pop cans together. That's way above my level. This guy, I think we just had to build this to act as a barrier for the stuff that would drop out of that rotating screen, so it wouldn't wipe out this electrical stuff here. Like, we got some sensors here. I think they just detected like CO and such. Pretty sure CO, maybe ammonia. But yeah, we had to protect them, so we built this little wall here. Pretty skookum, I'd say. It's I believe we used 4x4 square tubing, and then some 1/2 inch thick plate. So not much gonna bust through that. And then we secured it to the floor. We anchored it to the floor, so she's nice and strong. There you go. There's a better look at it. Put with all the anchors in. Then yeah, nothing was gonna knock it over, unless somebody. You can melt 2 pop cans. Yeah, aluminum's pretty easy to melt, isn't it? But yes, in this area, Blaine, is called the anaerobic digester. So it would take the material that was composted and pull the gases off of it, and then they would burn that in a generating unit to make electricity. Yeah, just some more pictures. Trying to document everything I would do. This guy, yeah, those are my feet. Bunch of methane. I'm not quite sure what the ppm was. It was pretty high, I thought. Yeah. No, I don't remember them ever telling me how much it was. He came just in time for the PCM feet reveal. Yeah. So this broke on me as I was trying to climb up a ladder. They have gates across them so you don't fall out of the catwalks and all that. But this weld broke. And I just pulled on it normally and it just went snap. I didn't fall or anything, but it was, I was like, look at what the hell is this? And then I had to put that in as a near miss. Methane, if you remember, stinks around 30 to 60 ppm, then smells sweet past that and then can kill. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have to deal with that too much. I never did encounter too much methane. No, not really at all. But yeah, they captured the gases and they would burn them. This is just another shot. I think I tried to take a picture of what actually broke. You can see the distance here. So it's, I think I got them to get the welder in there for him to weld it up. But yeah, there's the lower catwalk. And yeah, I was just climbing up to this catwalk and this thing just went snap. There's a better shot of it. You can see the break. Usually on metal, the weld itself won't break, but the metal beside it will because of the change with the high heat. But I don't know about this. If this was not a very good weld, then it could have broke there too. Gearbox. Funny story. So this is a giant portable fan. Behind it is a radiator whose fan had to be, the fan just blew apart, I think. What happened is, I think the one of the blades came off and just, it grenaded. So we're like, well, we got to run this thing. How can we do it without, so we were like, okay, well, we'll just put this up here with the crane and secure it, and we'll do it that way. We got to make do, because we can't shut the machine down. You'll send me some shots of a not very good weld where I don't think any melted. Yeah, cold weld. That's terrible when that happens. You definitely need that heat. There's another shot of that. So we got that thing tied up there so it doesn't take off. And it could still cool the radiator down. So I believe it cooled down the hydraulic oil that ran the machine. Another shot of the acid scrubbers. As you can see, full face mask, shield, and chemical coveralls required to work in the area. So they were pretty serious and the acid we had was, it was like a decimal. You know how acid and base, it goes from like 1 to 14. 7 is water. 1 is acid. Ours was like 8. 0.7. It's like, that's just crazy. There's some more there. I think that's the pump. Can't remember what I was checking out at the time. This looks like, I think those are just air compressor tanks, and they're getting all the water out of it. That's yeah, I think that's what that is. I don't think the automatic solenoids weren't working very well, so it wasn't getting rid of the air or the water that gets, because when you compress air, it heats up and then it's humid, and then when it cools down, water forms, and then it comes into the tank, and then the solenoid is supposed to actuate to get rid of the water so it doesn't stay in the tank and doesn't get carried along to your instruments. But that wasn't happening here. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I think we cracked it open just to get the water out of it. And I think we might have switched over to a different solenoid after that, because that's a big failure, that one is. But yeah, definitely send me those pictures, Blaine. I want to see that. Yeah, okay, there's the air compressor unit. What we're looking at right here is the dryer. So you got your 2 on each side. You'll have a filters, and then your dryer unit to try to keep the moisture down in the air. And there's one of the compressors, and I think, oh, here we go. I think what I'm looking at here is this thing on your right is the, what do we call it? Not the crusher, but it would just crunch up. Like we have a pallet in there and it's just getting, and then it getting chopped up, and then it gets sent to the screen. That's not a very good video. Let's try the next one here. There we go. Everybody's looking at it. We got some sound here. Come on. There we go. That's what it sounded like as it's running. You got all your conveyors running. You got your shredder. That's what it's called. It's called the shredder. Made by Comptech. And it would shred anything that went in there. Just the It was amazing the amount of teeth it had on the thing. Oh, no, that's it. Oh, no, there we go. So here we go. He's going to load the shredder with the... he's going to use the front end loader, load it up with some pallets, because right now what you're doing is we're testing it out. We can't put it into operation until you get all the bugs out of it. So you got to test it out with a few things, and we use just old pallets. And it should shred them into pretty small size pieces. So in there is a giant rotating drum with teeth on it. So we'll see how it goes here. Come on, there you go. Gotta tip it. Puts it to work all right. And then what'll happen is, see that little light is on. That means that what this thing will do when it's in automatic, it'll go forward for a while, and then it'll stop and then go reverse to try to clear itself out if there's anything caught. And then once again, it'll rotate forward, and then it'll start crushing stuff up again. Well, I made sure the loader was gone, and I walked over to see. So that's pretty small stuff. Really chopped them up good. That's a mag belt there. Here, this show you there. They angle it to go with the conveyor belt, but this is a mag belt, so there's a big magnet in the middle, and anything that's metal will get drawn up, and then the conveyor will rotate, and once it gets to the end, the magnetic field is not as strong, and it just flips it off. And that's how it picks up the metal and spits it out. And then the rest of it goes over to the screen, where it gets... the small stuff falls through here. And then at the end of it, I can't remember if I got that or not, but at the end of this machine, the screen, anything that's larger than what the screen size is will fall out the back. And I think I did get it. And here you go. Hey, Underground, good to see you guys. How's it going? Just showing what a shredder does, and a large rotating screen. Sort of how it separates stuff out. So yeah, anything that's really large and can't fall through the holes goes out the back here. And that's it. I think I stepped on the other side when... now you can see the stuff coming out of the shredder there. Just DM the worst leg. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it goes up past the mag belt. This is pretty neat because you got to hold down the conveyor belt so it doesn't take off on you. So they use those rollers there to hold it down in place. I think this is another time they were throwing some more pallets in there. There we go. Dump that all in there. That thing should just rip that stuff up like crazy. And then it should start coming through the rotating screen. There it is. Now this isn't meant for just wood. This was going to take all municipal garbage, compostable things, and it's going to end up in here. So it'll probably look more like dirt, like a pile of dirt usually. But just for this test, I'm trying to do the, we're just doing the wood. So yeah. And I believe after this was chopped up in small pieces, they would take them and put them into the chambers that are in this building still. This building has like 8 chambers, and that's where you put all the shredded garbage and organic material, and that is when they pull the gases off of them. And out comes the big stuff at this end that didn't get chopped up, too big to get sorted. So. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. And I think that was the last video of that one. So there we go. That is what a shredder does in an anaerobic digester. And you do all that just to get power. It's pretty amazing. You're going to shred up all the organic material, let it break down. As it breaks down, it gets hot. Keeps letting off gases that you capture. You capture the gases, you store them, and then you direct them to the generators, which take those. It's like a natural gas generator. And it takes those, burns them in the engine, which is a 16-cylinder engine. And then it turns the generator, makes power. 746 kilowatts, I believe, for each one, and there was 2 of them there. I don't know if we ever put any to the grid of the city, but I think we ran our building on our site. So that was quite the accomplishment, I think. You're able to do that. Use just the garbage that you take in. I hope everybody had a good time tonight. I know I did. First being on Brandon's stream was super fun. I really enjoyed that. Doing a little bit of throwback to the 70s for anime. I like to spread the word of seeing all those shows, hopefully to a newer generation. And then, yeah, now coming over, doing my trades talk. I know I couldn't do it on Tuesday because of previous commitments, but I got to get it in somewhere. So I'm quite happy about that. I hope you guys are too. I really appreciate you guys coming up. Such short notice. Okay. So, coming up, you guys. Coming up, what is today? Today's Wednesday. Saturday, start of a new game. I gotta come up with a new game to play. Somebody said Super Dodgeball, but I don't know. I don't know if that would be fun for you guys to see. Sure was very enjoyable playing Advance Wars. Such a fun game. I liked it so much, I went out and bought a boxed copy of it. So I bit the bullet, and I bought it, and I play it on my DS, and it is just excellent. Really pulls you in. I could do more tactics, Blaine. I mean, but I was hoping to jump to a different genre, maybe. Maybe some Duke Nukem or something, or what was I playing the other day? F-Zero. Because I heard a new F-Zero game is coming out later, so maybe play some F-Zero to get ahead of the curve, as it were. I don't know. Got to think of something. And that's for Saturday and gaming. I'll come up with something. And I'm sure I'll hear about it if you guys don't like it. On Sunday, anime chat. Hockey, my favorite. Oh man, watching this anime, I was just like, this is excellent. And I hope I can convey that to you guys on Sunday when we go over episode 1 of Pride of Orange. That's what the name of the anime is, Pride of Orange. And I'm biased, I'll admit it. I like hockey, I watched hockey, I lived hockey for a lot of years. This is a cute one. Cute girls playing hockey. I love it. And then next week, I think it'll all be back to normal. I don't think there's going to be anything getting in my way for Trades Talk Tuesday. You know, we're starting the new year again. Everybody's coming back from holidays. Things are going to return to normal. And we'll get back into the groove. And hopefully make improvements on the channel and start spreading the love for the anime, the video games, and the trades. That's what I want to do. So, as I wrap things up here, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came out. Godzillionaire, always a pleasure. Blaine, it's always great to see you. I can't wait to see you back on streaming again. Whoopa Troopa, always a good time. I can't wait to see you putting out more new content. Underground guys, I appreciate you showing up. I like seeing all your stuff when I can, depending on the time of day. Sometimes it's tough for me to get in there, but I try to see you when I can. So there's other channels out there too you guys can pay a visit to. There's guys that put out good content like Pacific 414 and Blaine from Blaine's Escape Corner, Ronin66 and DJ Ronnie G. There's Brandon the Anime Guy. There's the Nerdporial Lifeform, Whoopa Troopa, and Punkwaddle from Floral from Under a Rock. Ooh, don't make that mistake. I'm out there on Discord. It's called The Shop. Link should be in the description. If it's not good, just tell me and I'll get a new one. I'm out there on Twitter. I think it's Pop Culture Mech 1. I have some videos on Bitchute, Odysee, and Rumble because sometimes YouTube gets a little bit squirrely with their clamping down on copyright stuff. So Rumble, Odysee, Bitchute, I'm over there, and the videos are as they were intended to be seen. So once again, I appreciate everyone coming out. Let's make 2023 a great year. And let's spread the word about all the good things that we like to do, like anime and video games and the trades and whatever you like. Until next time, everyone, this is Pop Culture Mechanic, and I am signing off.